guys, welcome back to my channel. So I have another Halloween makeup look thing for you guys today. I painted myself as Demon. I actually did this for an Instagram contest. I did this for Melt Cosmetics Halloween Instagram contest. They were doing like a challenge every day for a week, and one of the challenges was a demon challenge. So I entered and I actually was one of the winners, so that's pretty cool. But anyway, the first thing I'm doing is I'm sketching out all of the components. So my mouth, chest thing, and then the eyeball chest thing, and I'm sketching this out with the NYX white eyeliner. This is my very loved Mehron palette, but I am just filling in all of the colors. So I'm filling in the whites of the eyes, the green of the iris for my eyeball thing, my red skin, the dark red of like my throat and collarbone pad things, the black of the inside of the mouth, and the teeth are like a yellow color. So we're just quickly doing that, just laying down flat colors. And every time I go in with paint, I am going in with my beauty blender and I'm just tapping it out, and it just makes it so that the color lays down less patchy. So for every single light color that I lay down with my paint, I'm going in with a corresponding eyeshadow. So the first shade that I'm taking is the Viseart Editorial Bright Spot. I'm taking the bright red, and I am laying that down on the skin part of my Demon Lady. And then I'm taking Triumph from the Lime Crime venusxl palette, and I'm laying that down on the darker red parts of my shoulders and my throat. And then I went back into the Viseart palette. I took the light green shade and I just put that on top of my iris. I took Luna from the Melt Cosmetics Gemini palette, I put that on top of the teeth, and then I took Bonnie and I put that on top of the black part of the mouth. I'm doing this to build up the opacity of each one of these paints. Once I get done laying down color, I am taking Leo from the Melt Cosmetics Gemini palette, and I'm starting to create like a gradient for that iris. I'm just starting shading there. I'm deepening up the shading on the top with the black shade from the Gemini palette. And then I am starting to shade in the white of the eye. So I'm doing this with like a very light color, which is the light blue from the Sephora watercolor palette. With Bonnie from the Melt palette, I'm starting to outline the teeth and everything that overlap with the eye. And I'm also dragging a little bit of that black down so that there's a little bit more of a shadow where the teeth lay on top of the eye. To shade the teeth, I'm basically using the entire side of the brown side of the Gemini palette. So like the first one I'm going in with is Lorelei, and I'm starting shading on like one side of each one of the teeth, and I'm also starting to individualize them. Then I'm deepening up that shading with polkadot, and then I'm getting really deep with that shading with cupcake. And I'm also starting to like dimensionalize, I don't know if that's the word, the teeth, and kind of making them look a little bit like rounder, more indented, and just kind of nasty. With, what is it, Aphrodite from the Lime Crime venusxl palette, I am starting to shade my weird little dark bits of skin. So I'm doing this by doing the same thing on each one, but I'm doing two lines on the side and then a line in the middle. For the red part of the skin, I am creating just wrinkles around all the stuff that's happening. So around the eye, where the gums would be, and I am doing this with Triumph. And yeah, I'm doing this with kind of like a fluffier brush because I want this not to be a really defined line, just sort of start the shading around each one of the items on my chest. With a smaller, more flat brush and Aphrodite, I'm going in and I'm just creating more, like not like an outline, but more definition to where these folds would be. And I'm just deepening up everything that I did. Not everything, just in certain areas so that you can see the folds a little bit better on the skin. So around the gums, the eye, all that stuff. Taking Triumph, I am starting to add even further shading and kind of blending out that dark line a little bit. So where like the skin would fold in, come out, I am just adding shading, and I'm kind of doing this just by how I would normally shade an eye. You can definitely look at like a really wrinkly ass eyeball or gum for reference if you want. With Earth from the Ace Beaute Classical Paradise palette, I am outlining those nasty neck fold things, and I am also outlining the waterline. Then I went into the Viseart Editorial Brights palette, I took the yellow shade, and starting to highlight the eye. Taking Bonnie from that Melt palette again, I am just outlining literally basically everything. So all the folds, just all of it, we're outlining with a real tiny flat brush. With Midnight from the Naturally Pretty palette from IT Cosmetics, I am starting to shade more of that white of the eye. I'm just dragging it down like I did with the black. And then I'm taking Noir from the IT Cosmetics palette, and I'm starting to individualize the teeth. Noir is basically like a less intense black shade. It's not as intense as Bonnie from the Melt Cosmetics palette. Speaking of Bonnie, I went in and I outlined around each one of the gums and everything. Again, just adding more definition to these teeth. With the Viseart Editorial Brights palette, I took the red shade and I am just adding like a little bit of highlight to these shoulder pad thingies because they just need a little bit of something to them, like a little bit of brightness. And then I took the NYX foundation mixer in white and I'm adding like a highlight or a sort of wetness to these teeth, and I'm just going up and down on the middle of each one and kind of adding also a quick brush stroke on the top of the gums for each one as well. And then I took my iMagic Cream Paint palette, took the peach shade, put a highlight on the waterline of the eyeball on my chest, and I also took the yellow from that same exact palette, created a highlight on the iris of the eye, and a highlight on the white of the eye with the white paint. I'm also adding that white to the waterline to create a quick little highlight, and then I took the peach and I'm creating a highlight on all of the wrinkles of the skin. Now I'm going to start shading in the pupil. So I'm doing that with the black from that iMagic palette, and then I didn't want it to be completely black. I wanted like a bit of a dark green aspect to it, so I took the NYX SFX Screen Paint in green and I'm just kind of flicking that up into the black, and then I took the light green from the iMagic palette and also the yellow, and I created highlights in that black eyeball pupil thing. With the NYX foundation mixer in Warmth, I'm adding a little bit of shading to those teeth, so I'm just adding a quick brush stroke on each one of the teeth, just up and down like in the middle or towards the bottom, and then I take the deep NYX foundation mixer and I'm starting to individualize each one of the teeth with that. With the NYX Liquid Suede in Orange County, this is like a radioactive orange shade, so I thought it would be a really nice highlight for the skin. With Bonnie again, I am going around and just kind of outlining around the eye, and I'm also adding some of this to the pupil, so I'm just tapping some of Bonnie on top of certain areas of the pupil, and I'm also flicking it downward on the iris, so there's more of like a deep shading there. With Notoriously Morbid's Multichrome and Destruction, I'm tapping some of this on like the dark green part of the pupil, and I think it looks so good, you guys. Like, I really like that effect. But then I took Vivid Escape, and I'm adding some lines of highlights into the eye. And then I also took Vivid Halo and I added some more intense lines of highlights into the eye. I love really highlighted eyes, so I took my Absolute New York liner in yellow and I'm just tapping some more highlights on the eye. And then I took my Vivid Halo liner and I'm tapping some highlights onto the teeth. So again, if you guys have seen these like tutorials before that I do, you know that I go highlight crazy. So I'm just adding lines and brush strokes kind of in the middle and like outlines of the teeth with it. And then I did the same exact thing with the Absolute New York yellow liquid liner on the teeth. With NYX's Vivid Bright and Vivid Petal, I'm adding highlights just literally everywhere, like just everywhere, gums, lid, shoulder thing, waterline, all of it. This is Smashbox's Always On Liquid Liner. I am outlining around the iris, and I'm also creating lashes, which, I don't know, I feel like the lashes kind of made the eyeball look even creepier because they're so like chunky and kind of gross. But for these lashes, I am flicking upward for the top lash and then downward for the bottom lashes. But I'm doing these slightly curved, so they're not like just straight up. That looks insane when I've seen people do that before, when they're like drawing or whatever, and it just looks crazy. Make sure they're slightly curved. And I also have some pointing downward on the top set of lashes, because some of my lashes, I mean, maybe it's because I have like the straightest hair on the planet, but some of them kind of point downward. With Dauntless from the NYX Vinyl Liquid Liners, I added some gray lashes in there, and then I took Vivid Escape and I added some highlights to the outline around the pupil, and I took Vivid Fire and I added some highlights to the dark red shoulder thingies. And now for the highlight finale. So I took my NYX white liquid liner and I added highlights to the whites of the eyes, to the waterline, to the teeth, to the lashes, to the shoulder thingy-mabobs. I'm especially going crazy though on the like pupil, iris, white part of the eye highlights, just because eyeballs are reflective, so you can go a little bit crazy with highlights. So I'm making these highlights like extra chunky and like going into the eye. I also add a little bit of highlight to the lashes, which you guys will see. So yeah, we're just going, you know, just going highlight crazy. We're finally onto the face. Woo! I'm like, this look took so long, you guys. You guys don't even want to know, but that's why I look really tired at this point. So I sprayed my Smashbox primer water all over my face, and then I took my Makeup Forever Pore Minimizing and Mattifying primers, and I smeared them all over my face, and I started to sketch out the components with the NYX white eyeliner. So I'm sketching out the eyeballs and then the teeth of the face, and I also did like the circles on my cheeks as well, which you guys will see. But yeah, so I'm just sketching everything in, and then I'm also going to be laying down the color again. A lot of the colors that are on my face correspond with the colors that I use on the chest. And then same thing that I did with the chest, I'm taking corresponding eyeshadows and I am setting them down on the face. So I took the viseart Editorial Brights red shade, put that down on the red part of my skin. Then I took the green from that viseart palette, put that down on the iris of the eyes. The white, same thing from the viseart palette, did the same thing. And then I took, what is it called? Luna from the Melt Cosmetics palette. I set the teeth with that, and then took Bonnie and set the black part of like the hole in my cheek. With Bonnie, I'm adding more details to the eyes. So the first thing that I'm doing is I'm outlining each one of the eyeballs, and I'm also giving them each a pupil, and I'm creating an outline around the iris as well. I'm basically doing like a really simplified version of what I did with that big eyeball on the chest. Again, same thing, took the blue from the Sephora watercolor palette and added some shading to the white of the eye with that. And then I took Bonnie again, and I wanted like a really intense brow bone, so I am sketching one out, and I'm looking at reference for this, kind of just eyeballing it too. I wanted like two ridges happening, so that's what I sketched out, and then I'm connecting the hole to my like skeleton kind of teeth happening. And then I went back into that Melt palette again, and I started to do again the same exact shading that I did to the teeth on the bottom. I'm basically doing to the teeth on my face. So the first shade that I'm taking is Lorelei. I individualized the teeth with that. Then I took polkadot and started to outline them a little bit more with that one. and I'm also giving them like a little bit of texture. Then I took Bonnie and I separated the top from the bottom. With Bonnie, I'm doing the gum line, so I'm just basically bringing a line up from each one of the teeth on the top and the bottom, and then I put a line, like a ridge line, going around the circle on my cheek. I forgot to give my mini eyeballs a waterline on my face, so I took my orange mehron paint and I just created a waterline, which is just an outline on the lower part of the eye. And then I took clay from the ASVU Classical Paradise palette, and I'm starting the beginning stages of like shading and kind of like wrinkles around each one of the components of my face. So the eyes, the gums, yeah, I'm just creating wrinkles. With the NYX foundation mixer in white, I'm starting to highlight each one of the teeth. So I'm doing that the same thing that I did on the chest. I'm doing to these ones as well. I am creating a highlight like around the gums and also to the middle of each one of the teeth. I also wrote a highlight onto the eyes on my face, so I'm bringing it like from the white part into the iris. I also started to outline everything on the face as well with the NYX foundation mixer in deep. So I did that to all the teeth, to the gums, to my brow bone, just everything. With Smashbox is always on liquid liner, I'm starting to give my eyeballs on my face some lashes. So I'm just kind of flicking them out, and they're kind of curved. Some are going outward and some are going down. Same thing that I did on the chest. Taking Vivid Envy, I am creating some highlights on the iris part of the eye. So I'm just tapping some of that green into the black. And I'm also taking Vivid Halo, and I'm doing the same exact thing. And I took Vivid Halo and I added some highlights to the teeth as well. With the NYX foundation mixer in white, I am highlighting everything some more. So I'm creating some highlights going in from the white of the eye to the green part, some on the waterline, also just all over the face as well. So like on where my eyes are, I'm creating like a really intense highlight there. And just some kind of, you know, strings of highlights around the face wrinkles. I took Bonnie and I started to deepen up my crease, just back and forth. I did it really messy, honestly, because I was really fucking tired by this point. And then I also started to shade in my intense brow bone with that black. Taking NYX's Vivid Petal, I am highlighting everything like I have been. So I'm creating highlights around like the waterline, the gums, my intense, crazy looking brow bone. Yeah, we're just highlighting it all, you guys. This is NYX's white liquid liner. I am just creating highlights all over the teeth and all over everything, as I have been throughout this whole tutorial. With Makeup Forever's ink liner, I am creating a cat eye because I always need a cat eye, and I was like, you know what, my girl is kind of butt ugly. well, we're gonna make her have a sick ass cat eye, so that's what I did. And I took the Bounty shade again and I outlined around my eyes as well, just because I needed a little something more. This is the Pat McGrath highlighter in nude. I wanted to add a little bit more of a highlight, so I did that on my nose and my cheekbone, and also on my big ass brow bone. So again, since my lady's looking a little butt ugly, I decided she needed some freckles. So I took the Makeup Forever ink liner and I just did some dots all around my face. I also put some just like not like just on like my chin and stuff and added them throughout the face, because dots are basically like nonsense details. It makes it look more detailed than it actually is. And then I took some mascara, threw on my lashes, threw a pair of falsies on because again my girl was looking a little beat. I made these horns out of Model Magic and I painted them black with black body paint, and that is the finished look, you guys. I hope you guys liked it. It actually took me longer than these looks normally do for whatever reason. I had some technical difficulties while painting it, so it was a little stressful, but like this video if you like this video, subscribe, it makes me happy, and I hope you guys are having a beautiful day. Bye!